everyone, and welcome to the latest Tempo Storm Wild Meta Snapshot Breakdown for Scholomance Academy. Wild is mostly settled in as the Scholomance Academy meta is starting to wind down. Decks like Reno Priest and Discard Warlock continue to define the top tiers, and while we are still seeing some minor shifts in the tiers and some small impacts from recent changes to the game, the format looks to be locked in leading up to the new expansion. So what are the best decks for climbing the Wild ladder as the Scholomance era comes to a close? Come join our Wild meta experts as we break down the format's latest developments. As always, be sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel and ring the bell to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Now let's get started. Reno Priest continues its reign as the deck to beat at the top of our tier 1. Thanks to the deck's flexible Highlander suite and its rapid damage combo with Shadow Reaper Anduin and Raza the Chained, Reno Priest is a highly effective ladder deck with very few weaknesses. Priest's abundance of removal helps keep aggro at bay, and against non-aggro decks, Lorekeeper Polkelt stacks the deck to help assemble the Raza Anduin combo quickly to take over the game. Priest's dominance has inspired players to tech in counters against the deck's combos, but a savvy Reno Priest pilot can often play around the counters and find a route to victory. Discard Warlock is the top aggro deck in tier 1 thanks to its aggressive curve of beefy minions and its critical mass of discard mechanic synergies. Discard Warlock is well equipped to fight for the board against competing aggro decks with plenty of tempo, swinging plays like Nightshade Matron and Silverware Golem, and against anti-aggro, the deck's cycling draw power with Malchazar's Imp and Hand of Gul'dan ensures that the deck always has some gas in the tank. Like Reno Priest, Discard Warlock is flexible enough to have a game plan against almost any strategy, though it's somewhat easier to target than Reno Priest since it can be stifled by anti-aggro decks that focus on removal and healing. Still, Disco Lock remains one of the most reliable ladder decks to climb late in the Scholomance Academy meta. Joining these decks in tier 1, we have Odd Rogue, which has re-emerged as a consistent performer at the top legend ranks. The recent rank 1 legend build from Lasagna HS has refined the archetype down to an effective core of cards that can manage the board in fast matchups while putting on the pressure in slower ones, giving the deck the flexibility and reliability that has become a common theme in Wild's top tiers. Odd Rogue's upgraded hero power is effective in a wide range of matchups, giving the deck the ability to neutralize the opponent's board or push for damage turn after turn as necessary. Now let's move on to our tier 2 spotlight, where we'll highlight a few noteworthy decks that are having an impact on the meta. Aggro Druid sits at the top of tier 2 after becoming one of the most popular decks on ladder and spearheading the format's recent aggressive shift. Aggro Druid boasts some of the fastest early board development in the game and can threaten kills with Savage Roar as early as turn 3, but it can falter just as quickly if its opponent has AoE removal or the tools to manage the board. If Aggro Druid is forced to go into the late game, it leans heavily on Embiggen and Voracious Reader to keep the big threats flowing, but it runs out of steam quickly if it doesn't find these cards on time. Still, Aggro Druid is a scary deck that can easily beat you senseless if you're unprepared for it. Quest Mage joins Aggro Druid in tier 2 as another powerful deck that's worth keeping on your radar despite its weaknesses. While the recent evocation nerf does technically affect Quest Mage, the deck can easily work around the cost increase since Sorcerer's Apprentice is still insane. Quest Mage can still generate ridiculous value while it quickly sets up a one-turn kill, which makes it incredibly effective against most late-game strategies, including the top dog Reno Priest. Despite that strength, the deck has a serious weakness against aggro that can make Quest Mage risky for climbing in aggressive metas. Odd Paladin also dips back down to tier 2 after a brief stint in tier 1 in our last meta snapshot. Odd Paladin became much more powerful after Scholomance Academy and can still build massively wide boards with its relentless hero power, but its standing in the tier list has dropped as the format has adjusted to the recent aggro shift. Odd Paladin is well suited to fight against other aggro decks and pressure most combo decks, but it has a blind spot against Priest and other anti-aggro decks. Overall, Odd Paladin remains a solid deck for climbing ladder despite its weaknesses, since it's powerful, straightforward, and accessible. Finally, Dark Glare Warlock returns to our tier list for the first time since its fall from grace after its namesake card was nerfed. The new version of Dark Glare Warlock is still a combo deck that uses self-damaging cards to gain extra mana from Dark Glare while discounting its giants, with the goal of building a full board of massive threats to end the game in a single push. Now that Dark Glare Darkglare only generates 1 mana per trigger, the ideal combo turn usually involves both of your copies of Darkglare at the same time, and overall, the deck requires more resource management and planning than it did in its heyday. Still, Darkglare Warlock still has the tools to dominate any matchup with proper play and the right draw, and it's becoming a sleeper hit at high legend ranks. Since the late Scholomance Wild meta is stable, now is an excellent time for Wild's classic meta counter deck to shine. We're talking about none other than Reno Warlock, which has a reputation for being one of the most flexible and easily teched decks in the format's history. Modern Reno Lock is certainly packed with tech, ranging from a wide assortment of efficient Warlock removal to tackle aggro, to Gnome Feratu and Dirty Rat to stifle combo decks, to the Grizzled Wizard plus Sir Finley combo in order to shut down Raza Anduin and other upgraded hero powers. Beyond the tech, Reno Lock is also packed with plays that are just powerful on their own, including the Highlander package, the Big Demon Voidcaller package, Blood Reaver Gul'dan, and N'Zoth the Corruptor. Put it all together and you have a flexible control deck that can hold its own against many of the best decks in the meta. Reno Lock is always at its best in a settled meta, and now that Scholomance Academy is winding down, it's a fine choice for climbing the ladder in the meta's final days. Altogether, Wild has reached a state of relative balance leading up to the next expansion, and while Reno Priest and Discard Warlock remain on top, there are a wide variety of strategies that you can use to climb to Legend and beyond. Our Wild Meta Snapshot has all the details, so be sure to check out the full meta report on our website, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to stay up to date with our Wild Hearthstone content. Thanks for watching!